Okay, so happy Thanksgiving. I'm traveling today, probably like a lot of you. I'm in the Bay Area, and it's definitely much colder in Reno where I live, but in the Bay Area it's all wet and rainy. So I don't know which is more fun or less fun. But anyways, since today's Thanksgiving, brings up a lot of questions about food, a lot of questions in life in general, but definitely about food. And something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is moderate or abstain. So a friend that I follow on Instagram has been talking about her carb addiction, sugar addiction, that it's really hard for her to be moderate when she's eating sweets or carbs in general. And so she finds it easier just to abstain altogether. And I was talking to a client a couple weeks ago, and we kind of brought up the same issue. Like one of the harder things to do when you're abstaining from junk food or food that doesn't meet the quality standards that you want is that you get lots of questions from other people. And my response is usually informative and a little snarky. I don't know, depends on the mood. But I think it's important to make a decision before you go to a party, go to a family gathering, before you cook at your house, that you make a decision about how you're going to treat junk food or treats or desserts or alcohol or whatever it might be during the holidays. And whether that's Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween, I've talked about a lot already. So making that decision. So when you're abstaining, right, you are completely not partaking at all. So, the reason to abstain would be if you're on a Whole30, right? You're on a strict Whole30 as opposed to kind of following the Whole30 lifestyle or following your food freedom, which allows for, cheats or falling off the wagon or just not eating 100% Whole30. That's kind of the food freedom or the Whole30 lifestyle. But if you're doing an actual Whole30, that means you're completely abstaining from any kind of sweeteners other than dried fruit or fruit juice. So that includes honey and stevia and erythritol or anything else that's sweet. So, a lot of people find it really easy to abstain in the name of alcohol, right? So there's people who are recovering alcoholics are going to completely abstain from alcohol. But when it comes to food, other people in your social circle or family might have a difficult time understanding why you're abstaining altogether. So I think it's always good to have a little dialogue of what you're going to say if you are abstaining. So whether that's no thank you, I'm on a special diet, or no thank you, I'm full, or no thank you, my digestion is acting up, whatever it is. Then you can also be more informative. So you could say something like, no thank you, I'm on Whole30, or I'm on AIP, or I'm on keto, or I'm on carnivore, whatever it is that you're doing in terms of your plan. And that can feel vulnerable to some people to reveal what they're doing because they don't want questions. Or maybe you're like me and you don't mind if there's questions and you're happy to talk about it for the next hour. So just keep in mind that you want to have some sort of scripted response if you are abstaining or moderating for that matter. So some things that I listed that I always abstain from. So I always abstain from alcohol, but you definitely have your choice about that based on what kind of program you're on right now. I always abstain from the illegal use of drugs. Of course, I use prescription drugs and other things that are legal and helpful, but I always abstain from the illegal use of drugs. And I always abstain from liquid high fructose corn syrup, also known as soda, right? So Coke, Pepsi, even if you're getting Diet Coke or Pepsi, you're still getting an artificial sweetener, which is debatable which one is worse, the high fructose corn syrup or the artificial sweetener. But I always abstain from liquid high fructose corn syrup. And I always abstain from fast food because the quality of the ingredients, I don't care how great the fast food restaurant is just not even anywhere close to what I would eat. And it's going to be pretty hard if you're on a Whole30 to find something that is Whole30 approved. You're going to have to make a lot of modifications. So maybe during this holiday season, you're on a Whole30, like I've done in the past, where you're not eating any sweets or treats at all. So you'd be completely abstaining. Or maybe you're more on a maintenance program or a food freedom program where you're going to be moderate with your sweets intake, your desserts intake. So here's some things that you might think about if you're going to be moderate or you're going to moderate during the holidays. And again, this can be today, which is Thanksgiving, or it can be throughout this next month and a half of the holiday season. And you can make different rules for different occasions, right? Maybe you're going to completely abstain until Christmas Day, and then here's the rules or the ideas that you want to follow on Christmas Day. So it can change from day to day, but I think it's good to have an overall plan for the holidays. So here's some things that you can think about when you want to be moderate or you want to moderate. Alcohol. So I always abstain from alcohol, but other people partake of alcohol. And so you can be moderate in your consumption, and you can be very specific with yourself and say something like, I'm only going to have one drink at this party, or I'm only going to drink one time per week. So I need to pick an event at which I'm going to have a drink. The other thing that you can think about when you're being moderate or you want to moderate what you're doing is your time frame. So like for example, I always have the rule not to eat sweets or dessert in the morning because it sets me up for blood sugar crashes for the rest of the day and even sometimes the next day. So for me, I'm never going to eat a sweet before 12 o'clock. So you could say I'm abstaining until 12 o'clock, and then after that I'm going to be moderate. So another idea about time frame could be you're only going to eat dessert. So in other words, you're not going to eat a candy bar around noon or 3 o'clock. You're always going to eat it after a meal. And that's really good because that helps with your blood sugar too, right? If you eat your sweets or your treats after a meal, that's going to help with a more stable blood sugar, as opposed to if you eat it before the meal or if you eat it away from food altogether. So time frame, or you can say, I'm only going to indulge in treats or sweets during the actual week of Christmas, or Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and then after that, my time frame is passed and I'm going back to my Whole30, or I'm going back to a tighter food freedom type of program. Another thing you can think about is quantity. Oh boy. Okay, so I've told you before, I have hand-to-mouth disease, right? Just like my brain shuts off and I'm just hand goes to mouth, and I lose all sense of time and all sense of quantity, right? So, all of a sudden the whole box of candy is gone. So you can think about being moderate in terms of quantity. How much dessert are you going to eat, or how many different treats are you going to eat during the day or during the party or during the Christmas season, whatever time frame you want to put on it. But you want to look at your quantity. How much? What's your serving size going to be? The other thing you can think about is quality. So, like I said, I always abstain from high fructose corn syrup. I can actually taste it. Like when I eat something that has it in it, I can now taste it because I rarely ever eat it. So it has a very distinct taste. It's almost metallic. So you can think about if you are going to be moderate and you're only going to eat paleo treats, or you're only going to eat keto treats, or you're only going to eat something that you've made because you know what the ingredients are. So the quality of the ingredients, you can think about a rule or a setup for being moderate in terms of judging the quality of something. So those are kind of my suggestions about your parameters, but you can make your parameters whatever you want them to be. I always have to have parameters because otherwise, like I said, I've hand-to-mouth disease. I just don't stop eating the sweets once I start. And it's interesting because in the past, when I've been doing a Whole30 during the Christmas season and during Thanksgiving, it's a lot easier because you only have to make one decision. The decision is I'm not going to eat sweets at all. But when you get into the holiday season and you haven't made that decision yet, it gets a lot harder. So my challenge to you is, if you're going to abstain, make the decision now and move forward and don't look back. It's much more complicated to be moderate or moderate what you're doing, because you have to come up with these individual rules or scenarios for every party or every day or whatever it is. But the moderation route is a lot more accessible for some people, because they're still learning, or maybe you are still learning about what rules are going to work best for your body and your lifestyle. And so, my challenge to you is, if you think you can abstain and you're there and you have lots of good plans and good dialogue in your head about how to fully abstain, I would say go for that. If you're new to trying to get low carb and low sugar in your life, then I would say, make some easy rules for yourself. I'm only going to eat one dessert per day. And that's enough, right? Because that's already an improvement. So those are my thoughts on abstaining and being moderate. They both definitely have benefits. I don't think that either one really has downfalls, right? Because you're decreasing your overall consumption of sugary treats and carbs in general. And this is only going to improve your mood and your overall health. You're going to get more stable blood sugar. You're going to get less anxiety. You're less likely to gain weight during the holidays, which nobody likes. And you're creating a new dialogue around your food and your plans. So happy Thanksgiving, whether you choose to be moderate or abstain today and moving forward into the holiday season. I hope that you make a plan and stick by it.